I'm Iurii. I'm the owner of Profitability translation company. This presentation was born the following way. I was approached in one of the meetings and I was asked if I was going to participate. I said yes. And they asked me if I was going to speak about anything. I said yes. Then they asked what I was going to speak about, and I told them what I was interested in at that moment. This was profitability management. I sat down to write a report. I listed the items I wanted to mention, and then I understood that some items I didn't want to discuss, but I have promised to speak on this, so I decided to speak even on those items that I didn't want to speak about. I want to understand something about the audience. Are there any owners of language service providing companies? So the question was, do we count private entrepreneurs? The answer is maybe yes, because if you are drinking alone at the New Year's Eve, maybe you're having your team building party. So for all those who are not owners of the companies, this presentation will most probably not be that interesting, and it will make you want to sleep. If I do not tell it in advance and people start falling asleep, then I will have bad feelings about it. But since I announced it from the very beginning, that's totally okay. So, Alexander, what percentage of growth are you planning, or have you planned before the COVID-19? 15%. Fedor, what about you? 15 to 20. For Kirill, it is 5%. Any other owners of LSP companies? I don't know about your business. Is it progressing well? Okay. So we are also streaming, and those who speak without a microphone are not heard at the screen. But at least we heard such figures as 10%, 15%, 20%, 5%, and our business is doing good. Okay, so this is the average growth percentage of the market per year, according to common sense. And so we are sitting here and planning 15% of growth, and some people are even more outrageous than us. They plan even higher growth. But the question is, where do we get those 15%? Actually, why have I decided to start with this? Okay. I decided to start with this because usually we plan our growth to be much higher than the average growth of the market. And if everyone is planning much higher than the real market growth, it means that some people are fantasizing too much. Also, because of COVID-19, as I have heard from Mr. Dranch, we are expecting anything between 0 and 20%, and no matter what we are waiting for, the growth will probably not happen. But the question is, how are we going to make our 15% growth or 20% growth or so on if the market is not growing at all, or the market is even shrinking in some parts? So this is the title. Most probably we are not going to earn more. And what about earning less? I do not want to earn less, but I do understand that it is possible to earn more on a market that is not growing. So the idea here is to increase the profits that are divided between the shareholders later. So the question is, are we just getting the profits or rather creating the profits? My idea usually was that we are getting the profit. So when we calculate our P&A by the end of the month, and we later understand that this is how much we have earned. We are getting some big amounts on our account, but that's not what we have earned. And so the question is how much we have earned. And when I was getting ready for this presentation, my task was quite difficult because there are some systematic translation companies which have the in MSFO reporting, and they are probably more advanced in this than me. But hopefully my presentation will also be of some use. There is a coffee shop near me, and they keep Forbes magazine, some copies at least, in the coffee shop. And once I read an article that someone has joined a certain company and has doubled their profits. So that's quite a normal thing to be published in a business magazine. But I got really puzzled. It gave me food for thought, because the manager has joined the company and has doubled the profits. It was long ago, but still, I got this understanding that the profits are the understanding of the profits are the responsibility of the leadership. So it's not just like earning some money and getting some profits as a result. Profits actually are the main outcome of our work. If there is profit, I'm a good manager. Otherwise, I'm a shitty one. So if we come back to what we have heard here, we are very connected to the money. By the way, we cannot manage the things that we do not measure. If we do not have a TMS, we do not understand how much we are spending on projects. We do not understand that, and we cannot manage that. But TMS, that's not the end of it, because TMS only implies the costs that are the direct costs, so the ones that you are paying to the contractors. The essence here is that while we are not counting something, we cannot manage it. And I know a lot of translation companies which do not count anything at all. And I don't even mean MSFO here. I mean even the basic ways to compute this. So, to continue speaking, we need to make sure that we use the same terminology, that we are on the same page. So the income is what we are getting on our account. The costs are the things that we have spent, like paid to our contractors, paid for the office, etc. And as a result, we are getting the profits. So for many people, it's still a different thing to understand what is income and what is a profit. Next, if we want to work with the idea of profits, the most obvious thing is that we need to increase the income and cut the costs. But there is a second part here. If we increase the income, it doesn't necessarily mean that we will increase our profits. Why? So even if the percentage of the profit stays the same, still the amount may increase. But it may happen that the profits actually decrease, in which case can we have this? The easiest and most obvious mistake is when we sell something below its cost. So we more or less know how much we are spending on our translators or interpreters, but we do not know all the other components of the price. So this presentation is built on my personal experience. We had some clients in our portfolio for which I was actually paying. I was getting more money for them to get the service. And when I understood this concept, I realized what was happening. And you may well have a similar story. You maybe just don't know about it. Here you can see Luc Besson, who is saying the same thing. So if you do not know the costs, you are playing the guessing game. So what constitutes the costs? These are the money that we pay to our translators, interpreters, our editors, correctors, maybe taxes as well. And also there are some constant costs which we pay to our employees, and also some taxes may be included here. Some people may be already falling asleep at this point.
So then what we do with variable cost? To define the marginal for the project, if you go to your TNMS, you will see that the share of the executor is very different. And what does correspond to your pricing? Really, it is a good question. It's worth to think about it. When I started doing that, and I started doing that a long time ago, I've seen that I have project with pricing 10-20% more than it should be. Why is that? Because project manager had more expensive translator at hand, or he just gave better price, or the client had lower price. And that was my victory on some stage when I started establishing a norm, when I decided that we could spend just this amount of percentage for this project. On the last translators party before COVID in Moscow, I asked how much did you spend, and norm of most LSP is 40-50% from the price of the client. 40-50% goes to his translator. If you have more, again, think about it. That's how I came to the profitability. Those of you who are owners of the company, look at the percentage of prime cost. How does it vary? You will find the projects. You will find the projects with the questions what to do with the fixed cost. It's more complicated because variable cost, it's clear because we understand how much money did we pay to the translator, right? Otherwise we cannot pay him. It's complicated with the fixed cost. Why? Because we need to take into account the pricing per unit. And my example is it is the key to the many issues. That is the case. And by the way, I have universal currency. I called it Tugrik because all of us are from different countries. Let's call it Tugrik, this universal currency. Okay, let's imagine we have 100,000 Tugrik a month, and we translate 1,250 pages per month. Then 80 Tugriks of fixed costs are for every page. And after that, you can use this formula for your own numbers to understand your situation. You can calculate it in different ways. We also calculated different options, assignments, clients, translators, but it works only this way. And by the way, the numbers here are round to make it clear for everyone. Here, the biggest part of the audience should be asleep already. Thank you very much that you don't. So let's discuss the pricing and understand that is the topic of our next round table. So if we don't calculate the pricing in the right way, we put ourselves into a trap. There can be just two approaches to the pricing market and prime cost. It seems to be obvious, but when you start some specific business, people cannot add 2 to 2. So what is the pricing? You understand that you have so many variable cost per pages or per words. Fixed costs are the following. You also add how much do you want to make, and after that you have final price. And sometimes it can be more than you would like to see it, or worse than your competitors have. And second, pricing depends on market. That's my competitor. I want to be a bit lower. That's my price. But in this case, all your costs, fixed and variable, should correspond to this price to include your margin. If you don't do it, you get the same as the majority of LSPs have. Whatever, you know, they don't plan it, so they take what they get. And then I will show you tables and numbers, because if I don't show you concrete examples, it will be a crap presentation. If you're still not asleep, it's a chance for you to get something. All these numbers around again, because I want examples to be as clear as possible. I don't want just to boost my knowledge or to tell you about the failures. No, I would like to share what will be useful for the market. I didn't want to share that, but as I committed it already. Where should I stand? Client price 200 units, variables cost, fixed cost, profits. In different business, I was reviewing a lot of information about it. 10 to 30% is the range of profitability of LSP. The less is the company, the more can be the profitability, and vice versa. Here 10 is the simplest number ever, because it's very simple to fill it. If your profitability is different, you just put your numbers into these tables, client price, variable, fixed cost, and you understand what you get. That simple as that, but almost no one is calculating their fixed costs. And here you have a question for how much you should increase your price to increase your profitability in 2 times. Does anyone can count in this audience? At least anyone? So here profitability is 20, we want 40. What price should we give to get 40? 220 in percentage, how much? Variable. Good questions. We will come to it. We need to increase the price for 22 Greeks to get 42 Greeks, because our cost will be the same, our variables will be the same. Yeah, you can. In my example, you won't pay more salary, but you will take more money from clients. So what we get? To increase profitability in 2 times means 100%. You need to increase prices in 10%. in this example. If your profitability is more, the math will be different, but the situation is not proportional at all. If you increase prices in this example for 10%, you will get 100% more profitability. Okay, how many years you need to make sales two times higher? For instance, this guy wants to have 15% more. They need 5 years to increase their profitability in 2 times. Is it too complicated? Is it fine? Stop me if you don't understand it, because you know that's what I was doing for a few years. What's the question? Use the mic, please. Speaker doesn't use the mic. The question is, please name the questions from the audience if they didn't use the mic, because it won't be hearing in the it won't be heard in the broadcasting. The question was, in what way we need 5 years to increase profitability in 2 times, because when you multiply it 1.15, 1.15, 1.15, it will be like that. That's why I'm saying 5, 6 years, 6.5 years. Guys, let's just drop it, because we will break our brain, and Excel can calculate it easily, just in a matter of seconds. What I want to tell you, there is just one manager's decision to increase the prices in 10%, and you will get the same results as you would get from operational activities in 5 to 7 years. That's the formula. 10% plus to profitability, 10% plus to the price means plus 100% to profitability. And if your profits are 20%, so 10% to the price will give 50% to your profits, as simple as that. That's what many people don't understand. That's why people spend so many years in some unclear operational activities, trying to make this X2 in their profits for 5 years. Attractiveness price is high. After that, there are marketing expenses, and after that, you have 7 years instead of 5 years, and this process is endless. And there is some unclear efforts at the end. But your sales manager will come to you after something like that and will tell you, but clients ask me for discounts. What shall I do? I'm not going to sell at this price. What should you tell them? There is one more table. I'm sorry, but this presentation wouldn't be valuable without numbers. We need to pass three circles of hell to get the discount. Why? I'll explain you the example. For instance, we make 250,000 conditional 2 Greeks a month. The profitability is the same, 10% from the previous examples. It means that on this volume we can make 25,000. Is this math clear? Let's stop here. Let's drop it, because I don't want to lose any of you. If you don't understand that, Sasha, do you understand? Cool. What to do if you will get 5% discount? Reduction of profits in 2 times. Are arts, right? No, you're not arts. That's what I see. 50% income. If we having profit 10% and we give 5% discount, we will lose the half of it. No, they won't. Interpreter didn't hear the question. Sasha asked if the volumes will be 10 times higher, and I'll tell him no, they are not gonna be higher. And if it is signed in the contract, I don't want to play smart guy. not to lose everyone. But if you increase volumes in 10 times, you will have more fixed costs because you won't be able to proceed these volumes with your personal. And if it is outsourced project to another language and there is some external PM and you don't care to give him 1 million words or 2 million words, he will spend about 50 hours of his time. But when you refuse to give discount to the client, you can lose the project as a whole and your fixed costs are still the same. And it doesn't matter what volume your client will give you. Your staff will have the same working hours. That is a very good question. And I have a conditional answer to it, but further after that we will come back to your specific question. That's what your sales manager will tell you, and that's what further said, because I can sell more. The same example on the left side, the table with 25,000 without discount and 12.5 when we give discount for how much more we need to sell to make the same money.
So it takes you time to think about it, and this is good, because if we do a 5% reduction of our price, to earn the same amount of money we need to sell twice as much. And I have never seen a real situation when a 5% discount could entail a twofold increase in the amount of work. It's great if it's so in your market, but when it comes to direct sales, it happens almost as often as never. And we will discuss it in our panel discussion. So usually it's not proportional at all, especially if you work with direct clients. And here, to make a twofold increase, you will most probably need to increase resources, because in my company I would need twice as many project managers. I would also need the bigger number of freelancers, vendor managers, etc. So the price would increase as well. So this is another important conclusion in this presentation. So if you are going to make a 5% discount, you would have to sell twice as much. And also the market is not really growing because of COVID. The average market growth was 6%, and you want to get 15% probably. So where did we get those discounts from? This comes from the world of retail. When you have bought lots of some goods and you keep them in your warehouse, you have to sell those goods, otherwise you will not get the profits. And if those goods are not trendy, you can even sell them at their original cost, because otherwise you will lose your money. So do you have any translation kept at the warehouse? I don't have such a situation. So it may happen, like it happened to us once, that we translated a document for one client and then another client ordered the same document and we have earned twice. But this happens almost never. So we need to make sure that the profit target is in line with the margin in the price. And the second part is to control that the discounts, special prices, and expensive contractors are not eating away at the thing that we intended to earn. So if the profit is not in your price, where are you going to get the profit? So usually we are just inventing the price. We do not even know what the cost will be, and that's why we are probably getting no profits. So this is the idea that can be quite startling for marketers and sellers. The main idea of marketing and sales is to increase our income without the decrease of the margin. So Originally, it is way more complicated, and I won't even try to repeat it here. But marketing and sales quite often want to sell with the help of some promotions, some discounts, some increased marketing budgets. But there is one idea. When we have money, we are using the calculator. When we do not have money, we are using our brain. And the marketers and the sales, they do not want to do this. Because if you have a certain plan for the sales and you can use a discount to get the sale done, why won't you use the discount? And here I also wanted to share some life hacks, some ideas of my own that were effective in our case. Life hack number 1. The price of the sauce does not make people buy or not to buy the potato fries. So there are certain sauces or ketchups, etc., that are sold together with the fries, and you are buying those automatically. You don't even check the prices of that ketchup or whatever. And the same happens in the translation business. There is some official approval, etc. These services should not be free, because in some companies they are free, but please believe me that if you start charging for them, the clients will not leave you. So you can actually charge 3 times as more as it costs, especially if you are working with the direct clients, especially if you are not the subcontractor. So it's up to you what price to set for those additional services. But our experience was that we could increase the prices for these additional services quite a lot, and nothing has happened to our clients. So our experience shows that you can charge a lot for these additional services. Next, doing things urgently. This is a great thing. So again, this is something very effective when you work with direct clients. Let's give some simple example with rounded numbers. So if something costs 10,000 for the client and the costs are 9,000 and the net profit is 1,000. So let us add an additional margin of 100%. So if we do this, our costs will not increase. So maybe there is more fire in us when we are sort of implementing this order, but the costs do not grow. So the price for the client in this case is 20,000, and we have spent 9, so we have increased our profits 11-fold. So to earn as much, you would have to do 11 orders of this scope. And again, this is practiced on the market quite broadly, because when something is urgent, you are ready to pay. Next, life hack number 3, the minimum order. So who has a minimum order? So please, could you share? Half an hour? Half an hour is in your monetary unit that you have invented. But anyone could give me the number? Okay, 200 Ukrainian hryvnias, or for the subcontractors it could be €5. Someone else has a minimal order? Okay, 1 hour. So for us, we had a similar story. For some time, the minimum order was 1 page. And then we understood that that was bullshit, and we started to charge 32 euro for a minimum order. And everything is just great. And once again, this is probably something not suitable for the subcontractors. But for the direct clients, this works quite well. So if you want to translate half a page, you should pay us 980 hryvnias. We do not need such clients for half a page because we are just losing money on them. This is a decision that seems difficult to make, but when I started actually counting, I understood that otherwise we are just losing money on such clients. They eat away your resources and give nothing in return. And life hack number 4. Again, this won't work for subcontractors. But as a rule, we are afraid to increase our prices because we are afraid to use our clients. But if you switch from counting in pages to counting in words, this is quite easy. You will get a small number, and also you will make a transition to the normal European way of counting things. There is a trap number 1, and we were losing quite a lot of money on it. So everyone probably has some clients that were won thanks to bidding, and you are earning just a small amount of money on them. I am glad for those who do not have such clients, but we have spent a lot of effort to get rid of such clients. So how does it work? Look, these clients eat away your profits, the profits that you are earning on other clients. If your profit, for instance, is 10% and you have lost 5% on this special client, well, you are paying this from your own pocket. The idea is, if I increase my prices, they will leave. This is what we are afraid of. But actually, this is not what it seems. So if you do it bluntly, you may lose probably 15% of your clients. Otherwise, if you do it wisely, switching into words instead of pages, well, even a smaller percentage will leave. And it took us half a year to say goodbye to those unprofitable clients. So if the client is not ready to pay your profit, then it means they are not ready to pay for your work. Again, I see some pain on Fyodor's face, but believe me, I have spent a lot of time to do this thinking process. So this is not something I'm speaking of theoretically only. No, this is something that has worked in practice, and this is something I wouldn't want to tell to my clients. Trap number 2 is customer acquisition cost. So yeah, you know the translation into Russian, those of you who need it. So basically it's about the money you need to spend to get a new client, a new customer. So even I don't know, says Leonid. When I calculated this, I was greatly surprised. Here is an example. Let's assume that we are paying 30 units per click. That's a simple example, but we are using it for understanding. Also, we can apply the same approach to a more indirect process, but let's put it very simple. One click costs 30 units. If we spend 3,000 units, we will get 100 clicks. So the conversion of visitors into contacts is 5%, let's assume, and it's actually a good number, because those of you who are in the digital sphere, you know that 5% is actually a very impressive number. So in the translation business, usually it's somewhere between 2 and 3%. But let's assume that you are real digital monsters and you have 5%. Then the conversions of requests into orders, let's assume it's 20%. Okay, it may be different in other niches, in other businesses. I know that some of you are promoting your product as a unique one, or maybe you are using some referral schemes, etc. But as a rule, this is something around 20%. So we are getting one customer from 100 clicks, which costs us, in this example, 3,000 units. We do not mean any actual currency, but still. So, and what is your average check? I do not believe that it is 15 or 20,000 to pay for this, right?
So what am I talking about? Very often advertisement is more than it is reflected in the result, and there is a huge risk that you just waste your money. You should know how to calculate, you should know how to work with it efficiently. If you don't do it, your client, you will return your investments in 3 years. I will try to sum up. It's high time to do that. If you don't manage profitability, don't expect that you achieve your goals. When you told me 15.5%, that was profitability or income further? Income. And do you have a goal? How much do you want to increase your profitability? I'm not ready to share. Just tell me, do you have it or not? Surely I have it. Wonderful. Okay, these goals, if they're not reflected in your pricing policy, in your attitude to fixed prices, for you it's just taken a wild guess, and for you it will be surprise, and I hope it will be nice surprise for you. So if you don't know the prime cost, and by prime cost now I mean fixed and variable costs, because you know fixed cost is the most complicated thing in this formula, and it won't guarantee the desired profitability. You can spend a lot of efforts to increase their profitability, but it won't reflect your goals. And I'm afraid we shouldn't expect any increase of profitability this year, but we can increase the profits in management decisions. All these decisions are very painful. You will have dozens of doubts before you take them, because any of the decisions that I showed you wasn't easy, but they did work. 10% price increase equals to the sales growth in 1.52 times. If you're interested, we can try to draw the numbers around table. I'll give you concrete cases. These columns are evil. Additional services and urgency are good things to do. And follow client attraction cost. Follow its price, because most of the marketing instruments just drain your money, and every next year your client will cost more and more. Do we have a question? You're welcome. I would like to express my respects to Iurii. I'm from other fields, but you know that's absolute truth. That's what we got when we started calculating prime cost. And what I liked most of all, the goal of Iurii. It's my goal. I want to teach my clients, my competitors, to calculate the prime cost in the right way, because in this way, automatically they will increase their prices, and it will be easier for me to work then. Iurii, did you think about that by this way you will learn your colleagues how to work in the right way, and they will go higher, and everyone will win? It depends on the managerial decision. Why am I here? I didn't mention it during my presentation, but why did I decide to share it? I want my competitors to make more money. What for? I want market to be honest, because, and now I'm talking about domestic market of Ukraine, the one we work on. There are a lot of expressions of non-ethical business, of dishonesty, because there are different calculation units. On the market, you will see page, for instance, 2,000 symbols, 100, 1,800, 1,500, and also they can be with gaps and without. I'm not telling that it's dishonest, but it doesn't make the market transparent. It makes the comparison more complicated, and the customers don't need all of that. That's the first bright example of the dishonesty and transparency. And the second is to promise proofreading for a client without knowing what is editing, what is proofreading, what is revision, what is review, and not to have the resources to do that. Iurii, you have 5 minutes left, and after that we will need to change decorations on stage. Am I decoration? Do you have concrete questions? Just a moment. No, that's all that I wanted to ask.
I have a question about your example with the urgent work. So does it mean that you are not paying more to your translators for urgent work, or you keep somewhere a big number of translators? Well, that's the decision of every business. You may or may not pay additional money to your translator. It depends on how you set up your workflow. And also, one more short question. We have just 5 minutes left. So we do not pay more. Okay. Hello, Iurii. I know that you are not dealing with interpretation anymore. What was the reason behind that? Well, we cannot do them well, so we decided not to do the things with which we are not good. Right now, also, we only work with 6 languages, although many other agencies would work with 50 languages in the Ukrainian market. You have spoken about honest market for companies, for your competitors, and when the market is going to be honest for translators, when are they going to pay more than 1 euro cent per word, something similar to European translators?
Talking about domestic market in the country, when customers will start paying more, here you've seen bright example. The profitability of LSP was tiny, and we were trying to increase the prices every year. We do it, and we win a lot on this strategy, and in parallel way we increasing rates for the translators. When we come to the European level, I'm afraid it won't be soon. I'm not telling like someone who wants or doesn't want to do it. I'm telling you that as a person who understands the moods of a client. Yeah. Okay, the idea is clear, but in every economics, their own prices. In Ukraine, they will pay the same prices when there will be European level of life, European level of salaries. It is a rhetoric question. No one is going to pay European rates with the present level of life. Let's not live in the fields with pink unicorns in this context. I had very bad experience with that. We felt the pressure of our executors, and we increased the rate significantly 3 years ago. We did that because we wanted to do so without calculating what is behind my back, and we didn't have any profit for a few months. I just want to highlight that it is just a story of pragmatic mathematical decisions. You have formally chose you how much you can pay, and you pay exactly how you can pay, not because you're good or bad, not because you like or dislike the executors. We do like them, but we have the margins. But I can do it only when client is ready to pay more. As I said, we do increase the rates every year, and we need time to go to European rates. That's why I'm talking. We are not ready for European level of rates, but there is a possibility to do it in baby steps. And also there is a joke. It wasn't in the presentation, but in my mathematical model with this 10% income and 10% profit, if you want to increase it, just increase prices just for 1%, and it works in the same way. But if you're afraid to do it, makes 1% once a quarter. My presentation is here to increase the prices on the market. I can see that there are more questions in the audience, but I would like to sum it up. We have a round table just in 5 minutes. And here there is the last slide. We have a chart of owners of LSP to have the possibility to discuss the questions in general level. If you want to be added, please write to me. I will add you. There are about 50 owners of LSP. That's all from me. Thank you very much. And I would like to go smoothly into the round table, because Iurii is one of the participants of this round table. Just small remark from the owner of the LSP. Life, unfortunately, is much more complicated. Iurii told us about very interesting lagoon. In his reality, it probably works. In my reality, my problems, all my difficulties are in other dimension, and I hope we can discuss it at our round table, because I want to make this discussion organized. We have few participants. I really want any one of them to speak up, and we have a lot of issues to discuss. All these questions are hard. They will require hard answers. And every participant will have just 1 minute. That's why all the participants, and all of them are here. I mean Alexander, Iurii, please get ready. And audience, please get ready that you will have very hard time limits. But so far, I would like to say the reality is much more complicated, because main problem is that the lion's shares of the big companies cannot calculate their prime cost, and they cannot do so because real workflow is much more complicated than just fixed number of words a month, because you have a lot of hourly calculated jobs, you have file conversion, you have communication with clients, you have updates, investments into new software licenses, and we need to put them into budget. And the owners of very costly companies cannot answer these questions. What burden client will bear, what company will bear, what will be the strategic investment, and that is the main philosophical question here. So I propose to listen very attentively regarding the percentage. It's right, if you increase your prices, you will have more profitability. But ladies and gentlemen, please remember that the main difficulty of your business is in how much time you spend on additional procedures that your clients require from you, but they don't want to pay for it. They say that it is a part of your rate, and that's exactly where you should draw a line and to explain to them what's your responsibility, what it's not. And I would like to invite participants of the round table to the stage.